Hi, everyone. Coach Teresa here. And today we're going to talk about co parenting and a particular issue that a lot of parents bring to me. But first, I want to address those of you who are bothered by this background I've got. Yeah, it's fake, but here's the alternative. And I think that's boring. So, I use this when I'm wearing blue because otherwise, well, I disappear into the background. But I have this solid blue screen behind me so that I can use these images without it looking like my hands disappear and reappear and all that weirdness. So hopefully, if you're hating on my background, you can see at least why I use it. Now that we're past that, let's talk about today's actual issue. So, like I said, co-parents come to me for co-parent coaching. And in doing that, a lot of times they ask me to help them resolve conflicts dealing with differences they have in parenting styles and difficulty agreeing on how decisions are made that surround the children. And a lot of it stems from really, they describe it as, hey, the other parent is really trying to control the children inside of my home. And, or the other parent saying, the other parent isn't doing what they should do as a parent. So I wanted to talk about that today and give you maybe a tool to consider that will help reconcile some of these differences and what I call differences in parenting styles, because there's more than one way to parent. And neither is necessarily right or wrong, but just different. So, some of the sources of conflict are around the children's daily routines between different households, disciplinary approaches, educational and healthcare choices, maybe how the children are socialized amongst friends and others, their use of technology, that's a big one these days, and also their extracurricular activities, like what sports, what hobbies, and maybe what music instruments they are playing, that sort of stuff. So, to help the parents get their arms around these issues and gain some perspective, I asked them to I asked them to make 3 lists. The first list are the list of items they believe that both parents should agree on. Really, both parents must agree on. Um, After that, they're to make a list of the things they don't think that each of them needs to agree on. And then finally, make a list of the items they think they could concede to the other parent. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. So, these lists lay out each parent's perspective. And it really helps me understand what amount of control they expect to have now that they're divorced. And that's a big thing here, okay? Because divorce does change things. And while it would be ideal if two parents would continue to agree on everything when it comes to parenting, that was never going to happen if you were in the same house. Now that you're in 2 different houses and having a whole 2 different sets of circumstances, that ain't going to happen. So I help parents to understand that dynamic and where they do and don't have influence or a right to impose on the other parent. So let's talk about this first list, the list of must agree ons. Okay. Before we get into that list, before we get into any of these lists, I want to lay out some ground rules. Okay. And those are: consider rules concerning health and safety, the law, and the rights of others needing to be consistent across homes. These type of things are not negotiable and should be aligned across parents, regardless of where the kids actually are at any given moment. Next, I encourage parents to always share their preferences of how they do things. Like, come to the other parent. Hey, I have Sally go to bed by 9 o'clock every night. But never expect that the other parent will automatically adopt your rule. Okay. So share your preferences, but accept the personal choices made by the other parent in their home. And then finally, Comply with the other parent's preferences if it doesn't infringe on your rights or principles. And if they're better at something than you are, concede that to them. Okay? Next up, we're going to dive into each of these lists and what it means, and then how you use those to reconcile these differences. But that gives you a start of where we're going here. So hang with me next time, and I might come back with a different shirt on. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.